Welcome back to MonkEMovie.
Today, I am going to explain a film called Marie Antoinette. Watch out and take care. Austria, 1768. The Empress of Austria, Maria Theresa, decides to strengthen relations with France. To do this, she sends her youngest daughter to the royal family. Maria Antonia is a 14-year-old girl who spends all her time with her friends and a pug. Not daring to defy her mother, the girl agrees to become the wife of the heir to the French throne. Her mother is convinced that the marriage will strengthen the alliance between the two powers and improve the country's economic situation. The Mercy ambassador, who is traveling with her, will support her on her journey. A few days later, the carriage arrives at the border between Austria and France. Having organized a symbolic tent, the royal servants perform the ceremony. Entering the tent from the side of her country, the girl must leave everything that reminds her of her homeland. After saying goodbye to her friends, leaving her dog, personal belongings and clothes behind, Maria Antonia changes into traditional French attire. Stepping out of the tent on the French side, the girl receives the status of Dauphin Marie Antoinette. Soon the daughter of the Austrian Empress arrives at Louis XV's resting place and meets the king. It is also here that she meets her future husband for the first time. The attention of the dukes and countesses is riveted on the charming girl. Some regard her as an Austrian spy, while others admire the beauty of Marie Antoinette. Once at Versailles, the girl becomes a central figure in the royal court. The nobility never takes their eyes off her, discussing the charming girl's appearance, breasts, and manners. A couple of days later, a solemn ceremony takes place in which Mary becomes the wife of Louis XVI. Exchanging rings and legitimizing their relationship, the couple dances their first wedding dance. In the evening they are put to bed and the curtains are drawn so that the newlyweds can get on with it. In the morning, the grandson shares his impressions with his grandfather and tells him that nothing happened during the night. Looking around the house where she will have to live, Maria feels uncomfortable as she is constantly surrounded by servants who do not allow her to be alone. She is woken in the morning, dressed according to her status and escorted to breakfast. At mealtimes, Mary tries to find common ground with her husband and expresses sincere enthusiasm for her husband's hobby of making keys and locks. The shy Louis the Younger is afraid to approach his wife and ignores her, constantly leaving for the hunt. During ceremonial dinners, the girl realizes that the French court is swarming with rumors. It is the king's favorite, Madame du Barry, who is most often discussed. The woman has long worked in a brothel and had no right to be at court, but the king has granted her the title of countess. Other nobles were unhappy with such manipulation and found Louis the Elder's actions immoral. Maria herself is no less popular for discussion, as she has no intimacy with her husband and as a consequence cannot give birth to an heir to the throne. With each passing day the girl's position in society is deteriorating. Some call her infertile, others call her frigid. Weeping from the insults, she tries to seduce her husband, devising new ways of hinting at cupcake every night. The shy Dauphin cannot touch his wife and ignores her. While meeting Mercy's ambassador, Maria learns that her mother is worried about the lack of grandchildren. She believes that this reflects negatively on relations between Austria and France, so Mary must employ feminine wiles to lure the prince into bed. The King of France notices that the girl is ignoring his favorite. Ambassador Mercy asks Marie to be more prudent, as ignoring Madame du Barry could spoil relations with Louis XV. Moreover, the king may find it disrespectful to his person, politics, and the position he occupies. After giving in to her entreaties, the girl tries to talk to du Barry, but is limited to a few phrases and leaves after seeing the king's approving gesture and smile. Gradually the girl gets used to life in the royal court. She no longer molests her husband, but eats sweets, finding them a way to distract herself from carnal pleasures. One day, the man and his brother are going on another hunt. The wife expresses her displeasure and feels insulted. She wants to have the child before her daughter-in-law Maria Josephine does. Before she leaves, her husband promises he will attend to her on his return. The ambassador is disturbed by what is happening and goes to see the king. Louis sees no reason to worry, as he has no plans to break the alliance between their countries. Knowing that his grandson has not had children for a long time, he orders a doctor to examine the king and his wife. Once again receiving news from her mother, Mary learns that all her sisters have managed to give birth to worthy heirs, and she is the only one unable to please the empress. Feeling under pressure, she tries to mend her relationship with her husband, but they do not succeed. The situation soon worsens as Maria Josephine gives birth to Louis's brother, a son. Tired of suffering and disappointment, Marrìed decides to start life anew. Buying lavish dresses, shoes, cosmetics and alcohol, she is drawn into the French way of life of the rich. She plays gambling and loses a lot of money without worrying about the consequences. Trying to find a new way to have fun, she sneaks into a masquerade ball and meets a military man. Count Fersen is a womanizer, capable of finding a way to get under a girl's skirt. Remembering her husband, the girl runs away and meets her friends at dawn. On her return home, the Dauphin learns that the king has fallen ill with smallpox and his condition is rapidly deteriorating. On hearing of her lover's imminent death, Dubarry gathers up all the jewels the king has given her and flees. Soon Louis XV passes away and Mary, who leads a hedonistic life, becomes queen. The girl's husband is young and foolish and ignorant of politics and the economy of the state. Listening to his advisors, he decides to support the American Revolution by showing his power to Britain. Soon France's debts swell and its economy takes a turn for the worse. Despite this, Louis continues to sponsor America in an attempt to convince everyone of his power and authority. Soon Mary celebrates her 18th birthday. The girl throws a high-profile party, during which she spends a lot of money. She is not frightened by the economic crisis, poverty, and the oppressed state of the citizens. Joseph II, Mary's own brother, arrives at Versailles and decides to visit his sister. He asks her to be sensible, to change her social circle, and away from alcohol and gambling. Meeting the king at the zoo, the emperor tries to understand the reason preventing him from having children. Learning the intricacies of his personal life, he explains to Louis how to make a cupcake using locks and keys as an example. Having learnt the basics, the king heads into the bedroom and makes love to his wife for the first time. 9 months later, the queen gives birth to a baby girl and names her after her mother Maria Theresa. The royal nobility attends the birth and surrounds the girl, as they want to see the king's heir. When they find out it is a daughter, they do not celebrate the birth. Mary wants to feed the girl herself, but royal tradition forbids her to do so. The happy father and husband gives his beloved a country palace. Avoiding alcohol and gambling, the queen moves to the countryside and devotes all her time to her daughter. Some time later, Louis arrives at the country house and invites his wife to Versailles, as soon there will be a ball dedicated to the soldiers. On her return home, she greets the dukes and counts of various countries. She recognizes Fersen in one of the men and cannot take her eyes off him. The nobility notices this, but considers the queen decent enough not to pull up her skirt in front of this womanizer. In the evening, Mary succumbs to temptation and gives herself to the count. The pair feel a mutual sympathy and have an affair, but Fersen has to leave because of the service and leaves the queen. The queen's daughter has grown up to be a real princess. Strolling through the courtyard, Mary chats with her counselor. Ambassador Mercy is concerned about the king's foreign policy and asks the girl to influence her husband. Their conversation is interrupted by the girl, who announces that the Empress of Austria has passed away. Another year passes and the queen gives birth to a boy, the Dauphin of France, Louis Joseph. A few years passed. Louis XVI's policies have brought France into economic crisis. The people, dissatisfied with the king's rule, have taken the Bastille and have no intention of stopping there. Soon they will begin a march towards Versailles and the royal family must flee. The nobility, fearful of reprisals, flee France. Louis has no intention of fleeing and Mary supports her husband's decision. A couple of days later, hundreds of hungry and furious men, organizing the French Revolution, reach Versailles. They storm the king's house, throwing stones through the windows. Mary goes out onto the second-floor balcony and worships the people. For a few moments the crowd of people with torches, shovels and pitchforks quieten, but afterwards continue their assault. Realizing that the impoverished French will have no mercy on an infantile king incapable of governing the state, the royal family leaves the palace in the morning, bidding farewell to their ancestral home forever. In the final shot we see the king's bedroom destroyed. And that's about it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more videos. See you soon.